Welcome to Subramani. Today we are going to talk about ratios. A few days before, maybe a couple of days before, I've done one on monitoring retirement accumulation. If you look at that, that was about monitoring your retirement accumulation that you are doing over the years. So, assuming you're 30 years of age or 32 years of age, and you have accumulated 10 lakhs for your retirement, and your total requirement for retirement is about 10 crores. So how much you have accumulated is 10 lakhs divided by 10 crores, that is 1%. 1% can look very good if you are only 32 years of age. It can look very bad if you are 55 years of age. So please understand the context of the ratios that we are talking about. And remember, like if you have done financial ratios for companies, etc., you will know that these ratios won't work for outliers. For example, your PE ratio in the year 2020-21 is going to look ridiculous because every company is going to announce very poor results thanks to this COVID crisis. So looking at PE for the past 5-6 months and the next 5-6 months makes absolutely no sense. So you go to other ratios like PB ratio, etc. So you should know when to use the ratios and when not to use these ratios. So this will work for somebody who is earning 50,000 a month, but it will not work for somebody earning 50,000 a year. It will work for somebody who is earning 50 lakhs a year. It will not work for somebody who is earning 50 crores a year. Correct? They are completely out of these ratios. So will it work for a Virat Kohli or a Sachin Tendulkar? No, this is not meant for them. This is meant for lesser mortals, right? So let us look at these ratios. The first ratio that we talk about is the budgeting ratio. So don't worry about taking notes. I'm giving you a link of this article which I had done a few years ago. So budgeting ratio says 20% of your take home you should save. Now this 20% looks good in an American context. In an Indian context, you have to up it a little, especially as you get older. Remember, we don't have social security, so maybe we should be upping it to 25%, but that's your individual call. But broadly, 20% is what you should be saving. 30% is what you should be spending on all your mortgages, which includes your house, your car, everything. So if 1 lakh rupees is your take home salary on a monthly basis, 30,000 should be the cap on your housing and car EMI. Please remember it includes a little bit of principal also. So maybe you could make it 35,000, but that's about it. And the balance you should be using for your household expenses other than housing and car. I mean, your petrol expenses and all will be in that 50%. That is your day-to-day eating, living and those kind of expenses. I'm not talking of investing. All that should happen out of your 20%. If you can invest more out of this 50%, that is great. So your PF, which your company cuts from your salary, that all could be part of the 20%. And if that is separate, then that is even better, right? So that is the first ratio, which we call the budgeting ratio. This is the amount of money that you should be investing. Remember, in India, you don't have any senior citizen advantage. There is no tax advantage. There is no social security, nothing. So you have to be more careful about creating a bigger corpus than in the US. So forget what the US websites tell you. They assume that there will be social security. We have to assume that there is no social security, right? And in US it is about 1,500 per person as a social security, which is not bad at all, because 1,500, even if you multiply by 30 for your purchasing power parity, it means about 45,000 rupees. 45,000 rupees is a fantastic social security amount. If you receive it in India, you honestly need no investments of your own. We don't have it, so you need to invest more than what the American websites tell you. How much should you have money in an emergency fund? What is an emergency fund and how it is caused? We'll do a separate post. But largely, emergency fund means all your expenses and all your EMIs. Now, suppose you are supporting your parents and you're sending them 15,000 rupees per month. Then that also has to be included as part of your emergency fund calculation. How much should you have? Before the COVID, everybody used to say you should have 3 months expenses. Now after COVID, everybody is saying you should have 2 years expenses. The jury is still out. The number should be such that you are comfortable with it. Like for example, If your father is a very rich man and you know he always keeps a lot of money in savings bank account, you know in the worst case scenario you can turn to him. Not that you should, but you can turn to him. So remember some of those facilities which are available to you. That is not available to everybody. So everybody cannot say, oh, I can dip into my father's account. If your father dips into your account, then you should have more, right? So all this multiplied by 6 or 7, or if you're more conservative, multiplied by 12. So if you have household expenses of 30,000 rupees, you have an EMI of 7,500 for the car, you have an EMI of 30,000 for the house, then you add up all of this and you multiply it by 12. Plus if you're spending 15,000 per month for your parents, add all that, multiplied by 6 or 12 or 9, whatever number suits you. That is your emergency fund ratio. That is the kind of amount you should have in a liquid fund or an ultra short bond fund, wherever you want, but that is the number you have to arrive at. How much of term insurance you require? Now this is again a number which I don't like. I believe that the term insurance number should be a function of your expenses, not of your income. But the general rule which you will hear from everybody, including insurance salesman, is you should have 10x of your annual income. But that is applicable only when you are under 40, because by the time you are 50, your requirement for term insurance falls dramatically. You may have repaid your loans, your children may be very close to earning money, so the term requirement will go down. So remember that when you are looking at these numbers, your age is also important. So you're 23 years of age, you're earning 5 lakhs a year, and you take a 50 lakh insurance, that's fine. But you're 55 years of age or you're 52 years of age and you are earning about 80 lakhs a year, you don't need 8 crores of insurance. So please understand that these ratios have their limitations. So work accordingly, but still these are good indicators as to if you want to tell your children what kind of numbers they should aim at, this is good. For yourself, if you're going to apply your mind better, these ratios are indicative, but you can definitely improve on them. How much should your mortgage ratio be? Now this is very funny, but this is in the American context. It says your mortgage should be limited to 2.5x your annual income. Which means if your annual income is say 20 lakhs, your loan amount should only be 2.5 times that. That is about 50 lakhs. I am not sure whether that works in India, especially at lower levels of income. If your annual income is 5 lakhs, this will say you should take only a loan of 12.5 lakhs. That is tough because servicing a loan bigger than this also becomes tough. But buying a house for about 15-20 lakhs today is a pipe dream, doesn't happen in any part of India, forget the metros, right? So, but this is again an American ratio, so you can find out, but you can't be very far away from this ratio, because how many years loan do you want to take? 2.5 may be too low, but anything more than 4 may be too high, because in case you lose your job, or something like that happens, what are you going to do, where are you going to live, you have to think about all those things, right? So then there is something called the investment ratio, which is 100 minus your age should be the amount of money that you should have in equities. For the more aggressive people, it can be 110 minus age to be having in equities. This again is a thumb rule, may not work for everybody. Again, may not work for the very rich, may not work for the Azim Premjis and the Ratan Tatas, but this works for the normal human being, saying at 70 I have about 30% in equity, and year on year I will say sell 1% and reallocate, so that at the age of 80 I will have only 20% in equity. Maybe it will work, right? For some people it will work. So make sure that you are somewhere near these numbers. You don't exactly have to stick to these numbers. How does this ratio work? How much money you require for retirement? The jury is still out, but any number between 30 to 40 times your annual expenses at the age of 60. So if your annual expenses at the age of 60 is 10 lakhs, then 40 times that is 4 crores. You require 4 crores plus a house, and there should be no loans outstanding on the house. These two conditions are a prerequisite. And if your house is 20 years old, rest assured you need some money which will be required while that house is being rebuilt, because you are only 60, you could live till 100, but this building won't live for more than 10, 12 years. So at that stage, when it is being rebuilt, Whether you will incur a cost, whether somebody else will subsidize it, we have no clue. So to that extent, you need money other than this 4 crores that we are talking about. This 4 crores does not include any major purchases, right? It is just your day-to-day expenses because it is 10 lakhs. 40 times that is 4 crores. That's how it is arrived at. Another ratio that you could look at is how much will your net worth be. So your one way of calculating is to say age multiplied by your pre-tax income divided by 10. So suppose you are 30 years of age and your annual income is about 20 lakhs. So you're talking of having a net worth of about 60 lakhs because 30 into 20 is 6 crores divided by 10, that is 60 lakhs. You should have a net worth of at least 60 lakhs at the age of 30 if you are earning 20 lakhs. That is other way to look at it is 3 times your CTC, and you should keep increasing. So the way the ratio is calculated is age into pre-tax income divided by 10. That should be your net worth ratio. Again, not very difficult thing to manage, but as time goes by and as your age increases, make sure that you keep improving on this ratio. This ratio is a very important metric because most people don't monitor their net worth. People monitor their assets, people monitor their loans, but they don't monitor their net worth. And if you can just make sure that you have an Excel sheet which calculates the net worth automatically, the minute your mutual funds and insurance policies, everything is updated, that is the best way to monitor your net worth, because you're not going to calculate it every day, but if it's available to you as a formula, that could be very useful. Thank you.